The story of human civilization is deeply intertwined with our understanding and use of geometry and engineering, as evidenced by some of the most remarkable archaeological finds across the globe. One of the most astonishing examples of this ancient mastery is the Antikythera mechanism, an artifact that reveals a level of precision engineering and astronomical knowledge that would not be matched for over 1,000 years. This extraordinary device, recovered from a shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera, is considered the world's oldest known mechanical computer. Its intricate system of gears was capable of predicting celestial events and astronomical cycles with remarkable accuracy. Remarkably, it predates the first European mechanical clocks by more than a millennium and had no true technological successor until the Renaissance era. This fact alone challenges the notion that such technological sophistication is strictly a product of modern times and invites a re-evaluation of ancient capabilities. Meanwhile, in a vastly different part of the world, the Tiwanaku civilization thrived near the southern shores of Lake Titicaca in present-day Bolivia. The people of Tiwanaku held geometry in sacred regard, perceiving the cosmos not as chaotic, but as a grand, ordered structure. This cosmic order was reflected in the very fabric of their environment, from the majestic mountains to the stars above, and the stone constructions they meticulously crafted. This worldview was not merely philosophical, but deeply practical, inspiring monumental architecture that sought to mirror celestial precision here on Earth. One of the most compelling remnants of this vision is Pumapunku, a part of the Tiwanaku complex renowned for its exacting stonework and geometric sophistication. It is believed that Pumapunku was an attempt to embody heavenly precision on the terrestrial plane through the use of sacred geometry, a system of mathematical proportions and alignments that connected the earthly and the divine. However, around the year 1000 CE, the Tiwanaku civilization collapsed, likely due to a combination of climate change, famine, and social upheaval. This decline left Pumapunku and its extraordinary structures in ruins. Natural disasters, particularly earthquakes, shattered the perfect alignments that once defined the site, and later, Spanish looters scattered the stones, stripping the site of much of its original grandeur. Yet, despite this devastation, the mathematical relationships embedded in the stones of Pumapunku have endured. Careful measurements reveal proportions like 1:2 and 3:4, ratios that are not arbitrary but are found consistently in nature and music, pointing to a sophisticated understanding of harmonious relationships that transcend cultures. This pattern of geometric precision is not unique to Pumapunku. Similar mathematical relationships echo throughout ancient monuments worldwide. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza is renowned for its incorporation of the golden ratio, phi, and the constant pi in its design, while Greek temples famously incorporate the golden spiral. Even the mysterious Caral civilization in Peru, one of the oldest urban centers in the Americas, exhibits alignments and proportions reflecting cosmic and mathematical principles. These recurring motifs suggest that humanity has continually returned to a set of geometric truths, a universal grammar inherent in reality that spans cultures, continents, and millennia. The presence of these consistent geometric themes means that sites like Pumapunku are not isolated anomalies, but rather integral parts of a global pattern of lost geometry. This pattern unites Pumapunku with other iconic locations such as Giza, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and Stonehenge in Britain. Despite vast differences in geography and era, these sites share a common obsession with alignment, proportion, and the dialogue between stone and sky. The builders of these monuments were not merely constructing physical structures. They were encoding knowledge and experience into stone in a way that would echo across ages. This transmission of knowledge did not depend on fragile texts or spoken word, but on the enduring permanence of form itself. The decision to use stone as the primary medium for ancient monuments was far from accidental. It was a choice imbued with deep meaning and purpose. Stone, Unlike organic materials such as wood, which inevitably decay and disintegrate over time, or metals like bronze, which succumb to corrosion, possesses an enduring quality that allows it to survive millennia. Even the written word, though powerful, is vulnerable, subject to loss, distortion, or destruction. Stone, by contrast, endures as a timeless vessel, capable of preserving knowledge through the ages in a physical form that resists the ravages of time, weather, and human neglect. This durability is precisely why ancient builders entrusted their deepest insights, their cosmic understandings, and their sacred knowledge to stone. The monuments they carved are not merely structures, they are repositories of a deliberate and profound language, one composed not of spoken or written words but of geometry, proportion, and alignment. This ancient language, encoded in the dimensions and relationships of stone, forms a vocabulary that speaks to a universal human aspiration to comprehend the cosmos and our role within its vast expanse. Today, our ability to decode this language remains partial and fragmentary. We catch glimpses of the deeper meanings encoded in the shapes, ratios, and spatial arrangements, but much remains veiled, lost to the passage of time and the discontinuities in cultural transmission. Yet even these fragments reflect a shared hunger, a collective striving across disparate cultures and epochs to engage with the fundamental order of the universe. The builders of these monuments were not isolated geniuses, but participants in a global and enduring tradition of mathematical and cosmological understanding. A remarkable aspect of this tradition is its recurrence in diverse locations separated by vast distances and different cultural contexts. From the ancient ceremonial site of Göbekli Tepe, which dates back over 11,000 years and stands as one of the earliest known examples of monumental architecture, to Pumapunku in the high Andes, thousands of miles apart and developed by distinct peoples, there is a striking echo of shared geometric principles and cosmological symbolism. These sites form a web of interconnected chapters in humanity's ongoing quest to measure, embody, and communicate the divine order. They reveal that geometry is not merely a practical tool for construction, but a sacred language, a medium through which ancient peoples expressed their vision of the cosmos and humanity's place within it. The universality of this mathematical code is staggering. Patterns, ratios, and alignments that first emerged in one part of the world appear with astonishing similarity in far-flung regions, often separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles of ocean and land. This phenomenon suggests either a remarkable diffusion of knowledge across cultures or, perhaps more intriguingly, a shared human intuition about the nature of reality itself, a fundamental geometry embedded in the fabric of the universe that humans discover repeatedly, independently, or through transmission. This code, rooted in universal mathematical constants and harmonic proportions, whispers a profound truth. Civilization, in its essence, is a continuous process of rediscovery, an ongoing dialogue with geometry, the eternal structure underlying all existence. At Göbekli Tepe, the oldest known complex, we find megalithic circles and T-shaped pillars intricately carved with symbols and patterns. These elements are not random decorations, but deliberate encodings of cosmological knowledge. Scholars speculate that the site served as a center for ritual and astronomical observation, marking cycles of the moon and stars and aligning human activity with celestial rhythms. Its design foreshadows later developments in sacred architecture and indicates a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos far earlier than previously thought. Thousands of miles away, Pumapunku presents another compelling chapter in this narrative. Constructed with remarkable precision, its stone blocks exhibit intricate cuts and fit together with an exactness that modern tools would envy. The proportions and geometric relationships present in Pumapunku's stones echo those found at sites like Giza, Angkor, and Stonehenge. Here, too, the sacred mathematics and cosmic symbolism are evident. The builders were working within a global tradition of sacred geometry, engaging with the same eternal truths that had inspired civilizations across the world. The stones at Pumapunku are not just remnants of architectural achievement, but messages inscribed in rock, designed to communicate a shared cosmic understanding. This global mathematical heritage is more than the sum of individual monuments. It forms a continuous thread that ties humanity together through time and space, suggesting that the language of geometry transcends the boundaries of geography, culture, and era. It is a shared inheritance, passed down through generations and across continents, sometimes preserved, sometimes lost, but never entirely extinguished. Each new site adds a verse to the ongoing poem of human inquiry, reinforcing the idea that knowledge is cyclical and cumulative. The implications of this realization are profound. It challenges conventional views of human history as a linear progression of independent inventions and innovations. Instead, it points toward a cyclical and spiraling model of knowledge, one where ideas emerge, are forgotten, rediscovered, and reinterpreted in an eternal dance of remembering. The monuments, their geometry, and the cosmic principles they encode are not relics of the past, but living elements of a universal story. They demonstrate that the quest for understanding is embedded in human nature, a fundamental drive that connects us not only with our ancestors, but also with the cosmos itself. The mathematical code embedded in ancient monuments also hints at a deeper metaphysical reality. Geometry is not merely a practical art, but a reflection of cosmic order, a blueprint underlying the fabric of reality. This order manifests in the spirals of galaxies, the patterns of seashells, the branching of trees, and the proportions of the human body. It is an eternal, recurring structure that connects the microcosm with the macrocosm. By carving these patterns into stone, ancient builders encoded a profound truth: that humanity is part of a grand design, intertwined with the universe in an unbreakable bond. In a world increasingly dominated by rapid technological change and ephemeral digital information, the enduring presence of these stone monuments offers a powerful reminder of permanence and continuity. They teach us that knowledge built on fleeting materials or isolated ideas is vulnerable to loss, while knowledge encoded in fundamental truths, geometry, proportion, and cosmic cycles can transcend the ravages of time and cultural upheaval. These monuments stand not only as physical structures, but as invitations to reconnect with the eternal, to listen to the silent language of stone and sky, and to recognize that our place in the cosmos is both ancient and ongoing. Ultimately, the global mathematical code found in ancient sites compels us to rethink our relationship with history, knowledge, and the universe. It reveals that beneath the diversity of human cultures lies a shared understanding of reality, one expressed through the timeless language of geometry. This realization bridges the past and present, science and spirituality, the tangible and the transcendent. It challenges us to see ourselves not as isolated individuals, but as participants in a cosmic continuum, inheritors and caretakers of a legacy far greater than any single generation. As we continue to study and uncover these ancient monuments, we are reminded that our current epoch is but one chapter in an endless story. The language carved in stone by those who came before us is waiting to be read, understood, and carried forward. By embracing this legacy, we affirm our place within the eternal structure of reality, joining hands across time with the architects of the past in a shared quest to measure, embody, and celebrate the divine order of the cosmos. The widespread emergence of shared geometric patterns raises profound questions. Did these civilizations develop their knowledge independently, guided by observation and intuition, or was there a form of a shared mathematical consciousness or transmission that connected them? Was the mathematical language they used discovered multiple times in parallel, or passed along a hidden lineage of knowledge? These questions remain at the forefront of research and exploration into ancient civilizations and their intellectual achievements. As we move forward, delving deeper into the hidden mathematics connecting all ancient monuments, revealing a geometry so consistent and precise that it transcends the boundaries of culture and time. It will explore how these sites form an intricate web of mathematical knowledge that unites humanity's past, underscoring the enduring power of geometry as a universal language. The precision of ancient engineering and geometry stands as one of humanity's most profound achievements. The Antikythera mechanism's gears, the sacred geometrical designs of Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, and the mathematical resonances found across global ancient monuments remind us that our ancestors possessed knowledge and skills that challenge modern assumptions about the past. These achievements are not relics of isolated genius, but rather the manifestation of a universal human pursuit to understand, measure, and align with the cosmos itself. The stones they carved and the machines they built were more than practical tools. They were expressions of a cosmic order that humanity has sought to grasp since its earliest days. The stage for a journey into the timeless language of geometry that continues to shape our understanding of the universe and ourselves. Throughout human history, geometry has served as a universal language that transcends borders, cultures, and epochs. The remarkable recurrence of circles, spirals, pyramids, triangles, and sacred ratios across ancient civilizations spanning the globe reveals a profound shared understanding of the cosmos, exploring how these geometric forms and numbers, echoing across continents, oceans, and millennia, suggest an underlying unity, a forgotten connection binding disparate cultures through a common mathematical vision. From the arid sands of Egypt to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, from the misty moors of Stonehenge to the temple city of Angkor Wat, and from the towering Andes Mountains to the mysterious Moai of Easter Island, one sees the same geometric principles repeated. The astonishing consistency of these forms raises enduring questions. How could such sophisticated mathematical precision and shared symbolism arise independently in societies separated by vast distances and lacking known contact? Did this knowledge originate once and scatter across the world, patiently awaiting rediscovery? Or was there a universal consciousness inherent to human cognition, a mathematical intuition accessible to all civilizations, responding to nature's fundamental patterns? At the heart of this universality is geometry's role as the language of myth and ritual, a symbolic structure underpinning the stories and sacred traditions of ancient peoples. Beneath the surface of gods and ceremonies lay a common foundation of number, proportion, and pattern. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza famously encodes the irrational constants pi, pi, and the golden ratio phi, phi within its slope and base measurements. This encoding is not mere coincidence but a deliberate attempt to embody cosmic order and divine harmony in stone. Similarly, the ancient city of Teotihuacan in present-day Mexico incorporates the golden ratio in its urban design. The Avenue of the Dead and the Pyramid of the Sun reflect these precise proportions, suggesting that Mesoamerican architects, like their Egyptian counterparts, sought to connect human constructions to celestial principles. In Southeast Asia, the grand temple complex of Angkor Wat encodes astronomical knowledge, with the distances between its towers corresponding to the precession of the equinox's cycle, a slow 25,920-year wobble of Earth's axis, well known to ancient Maya and Sumerian astronomers. This shows a deep integration of time and space within sacred architecture. In Britain, the megalithic structures of Stonehenge and Avebury display geometric relationships mirroring lunar cycles. These stone circles were more than religious sites. They were astronomical instruments, designed to track the movements of the moon and sun with remarkable accuracy. Further south at Pumapunku and the wider Tiwanaku complex in the Andes, the massive stone blocks align according to harmonic proportions remarkably similar to those found in Old World temples. This reiteration of precise geometry across continents reveals a striking mathematical resonance between ancient builders separated by great distances and cultures. A key feature uniting these sites is the presence of sacred numbers, especially the famous 3-4-5 right triangle, which defines perfect right angles and forms a fundamental principle in geometry. Equally fascinating is the repeated appearance of the number 432 and its multiples throughout myth, music, and cosmology. In Hindu tradition, the vast time spans of the yugas unfold over millions of years that factor into 432,000 units. Babylonian gods ruled in cycles of 432,000 years. Norse mythology speaks of 432,000 warriors in Valhalla. The average human heartbeat multiplied by the number of beats in a day approximates 432,000. In physics and music, the frequency of 432 Hz is considered harmonious, mirroring natural resonance. This number's recurrence in disparate cultures suggests that ancient peoples discovered and encoded a hidden cosmic rhythm, weaving it into stone, song, and story. The golden ratio, phi approximately 1.618, revered for its aesthetic beauty, manifests everywhere from the spiral arms of galaxies to the growth patterns of shells and even the proportions of the human body. The ancients recognized this number's divine significance without the need for modern calculation, carving it into temples, pyramids, and statues as a symbol of harmonious beauty that reflected the natural world. The constant pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, also features prominently in ancient constructions. It appears encoded in Egyptian pyramids, Mesoamerican architecture, and even in the layout of ancient Chinese cities. Pi bridges the finite and the infinite, the straight and the curved, symbolizing the interconnectedness of all things. Whether this knowledge spread through diffusion, contact and exchange, or arose through parallel revelation, separate cultures arriving at similar conclusions, the enduring truth remains. Geometry is the language of the cosmos. It is the universal system through which the order of the universe is expressed and understood. This shared geometric language extends beyond buildings to symbolic and spiritual art forms. The mandalas of Tibet and India, intricate sacred diagrams used for meditation, are composed of nested squares and circles representing spiritual ascent and cosmic order. These forms find echoes in the Celtic spirals at Newgrange, the labyrinths of Native American cultures, the tattoo patterns of Polynesia, and the enigmatic Nazca Lines of Peru. These motifs are more than decoration. They are expressions of the human desire to describe and participate in infinity and unity through geometry. Importantly, ancient builders understood that geometry was not only visual, but also sonic and temporal. They grasped the concept of resonance, the vibration of sound within architecture. In Egypt's Great Pyramid chambers, Malta's Hypogeum, and Chaco Canyon in the American Southwest, architectural design amplifies specific sound frequencies. The ratios of chamber dimensions create standing waves that resonate with human speech, heartbeat, or chanting, turning the structures into musical instruments. Here, mathematics became experience, and science merged with spirituality. Architecture was a tool of communion with the cosmos, a physical expression of the harmony seen in planetary motion, ocean tides, and even subatomic particles like electrons. Ancient myths, too, encode this cosmic geometry. Stories of great floods, cycles of creation and destruction, and the rise and fall of worlds are often rooted in celestial time frames. For example, the flood narratives found in Mesopotamian texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Bible may reflect memories of climatic upheavals marking the end of the last ice age. The Mayan long-count calendar tracks cosmic cycles spanning thousands of years, while Hindu cosmology describes world ages called yugas that correspond to astronomical cycles. These myths are not mere fables, but symbolic records of humanity's engagement with the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that defines vast cosmic epochs. To the ancients, the cosmos was more than a physical place. It was a living mathematical being, a fusion of universe and beauty. The phrase, "as above, so below," captures their worldview that the structure of the universe mirrors the structure of humanity. Geometry served as proof of this reflection. Humanity and cosmos were intertwined through the same patterns, ratios, and harmonies. The universal recurrence of geometry and sacred numbers across ancient civilizations illustrates a deep human recognition of the cosmos's inherent order. The Great Pyramids of Egypt to the remote temples of Angkor, from the megalithic circles of Britain to the stonework of the Andes, a shared mathematical vision connected humanity's past. This vision bridged science and spirituality, mathematics and myth, creating a legacy of knowledge and reverence that continues to inspire modern inquiry. Geometry was not merely a tool for measurement, but a cosmic language, a bridge between the finite and infinite, between the earthly and the divine. It remains one of humanity's most profound and enduring connections to the universe. The vast tapestry of human history, woven with the threads of science, spirituality, art, and philosophy, reveals a haunting paradox. The profound universality of ancient knowledge and its enduring fragility in the face of time, nature, and human conflict. While we now recognize that a remarkable geometry and cosmology permeated ancient civilizations across the world, the continuity of this knowledge was never assured. It was delicate, vulnerable to collapse, loss, and misunderstanding, yet it persists, encoded in the stones and shadows left behind. The shared mathematical and spiritual wisdom discovered in sites like Egypt's pyramids, the temples of Angkor, and the megaliths of Stonehenge was never simply about measurements or numbers. These were living prayers, expressions of cosmic harmony deeply integrated with the builders' understanding of their place in the universe. Yet over millennia, the meaning of these ratios and forms was lost, even if the numbers and structures survived. Civilizations faced cycles of rise and fall, and with every collapse, whether caused by drought, war, invasion, or disease, knowledge fractured and faded. The sharp clarity of ancient insight dimmed into superstition and myth, and eventually into silence. Modern scholars approach these ancient sites with instruments and calculations, measuring angles, distances, and ratios. Yet, something essential eludes this analysis. The original spiritual feeling, the reverence with which these numbers were once regarded. To the ancients, these numbers were not abstract. They were sacred, a language that connected mind and matter, faith and formula, in a unified experience of reality. Modern thought, by contrast, has drawn strict boundaries between science and religion, mind and matter, often failing to perceive the holistic worldview of those ancient architects and priests. Examining the history of major civilizations such as Sumer, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and the Maya, one observes a consistent cyclical pattern. Each culture rises to brilliance, centralizes power, achieves complexity in knowledge and social organization, and eventually succumbs to forces, internal or external, that fracture continuity. Libraries burn, scribes die, and sacred knowledge scatters like seeds on barren ground. The succeeding era inherits only fragments, enough to wonder at the past, but too little to fully understand. This silence between ages is more than absence. It is a form of amnesia, a collective forgetting that shrouds ancient wisdom. The ruins scattered across the globe, from the jungle-covered towers of Angkor to the dust-covered stones of Tiwanaku and the weathered circles of Stonehenge, are often dismissed in contemporary thought as mere remnants of past superstitions or primitive beliefs. This dismissive attitude overlooks a profound truth. These ancient sites are far more than inert relics or forgotten monuments. They are the tangible residues of deep understanding, the final articulations of civilizations that once embraced a vision of the world as a seamless and integrated whole. These ancient builders possessed a consciousness that did not recognize the artificial boundaries we impose today between disciplines. They saw the cosmos, nature, and humanity not as separate realms, but as intertwined expressions of a singular reality. This is evident in the meticulous astronomical alignments present in their structures, the harmonious proportions built into their designs, and the cosmological frameworks embedded in their art and architecture. Every element was deliberately crafted to reflect an interconnected worldview, a unity where science, art, religion, and philosophy converged and complemented each other. Modern knowledge, by contrast, has largely fragmented this holistic vision into isolated fields of study. Physics has been compartmentalized separately from geometry. Spirituality is frequently seen as opposed to mathematical logic, and art is often regarded independently from the scientific or cosmological understanding of the universe. This fragmentation has made it difficult for us to perceive the world as our ancestors did, an integrated and living whole. At sites like Angkor, the sprawling temples rise from the jungle not merely as architectural feats, but as cosmic maps that mirror celestial cycles and spiritual principles. The layout of the complex aligns with solstices and equinoxes, reflecting a sophisticated grasp of astronomy and timekeeping that was integral to their religious and cultural life. These were not accidental alignments, but deliberate expressions of a worldview where the heavens and earth formed a unified system. Similarly, Tiwanaku's monumental stones, arranged with mathematical precision, were more than a display of engineering skill. They embodied a sacred geometry that encoded the rhythms of the cosmos, mountains, and stars. The builders of Tiwanaku understood that the physical environment was a reflection of a deeper cosmic order, and their constructions were designed to maintain harmony between humans and the universe. Their collapse, brought on by climate change and societal upheaval, left ruins that still whisper the ancient language of proportion and alignment, urging us to listen and understand. Stonehenge, with its iconic stone circles, is another testament to this integrated consciousness. Its megaliths mark lunar and solar cycles, encoding time through the arrangement of stones that remain standing after millennia. Far from mere superstition, Stonehenge is a sophisticated observatory and ritual center, a monument that bridges the temporal and the eternal. It represents a worldview in which humanity was deeply attuned to the movements of celestial bodies and the cycles that govern life on Earth. What all these sites share is an expression of a worldview in which knowledge was not segmented but holistic. Ancient builders saw no contradiction in integrating astronomy with sacred ritual, geometry with mythology, and engineering with spirituality. To them, to build was to engage in an act of cosmic participation, a way to align human life with the rhythms of the universe. Structures were not just functional or decorative, they were living symbols of the interconnectedness of all things. This integration extended beyond architecture into the very fabric of ancient cultures. Art was not isolated as aesthetic pleasure, but functioned as a form of sacred communication. Mathematics was not abstract and separate, but was experienced as revelation and divine order. Religious ceremonies echoed the cycles of stars and planets, embedding cosmic time into human experience. Philosophy was grounded in a cosmic vision that connected earthly life with celestial realities. The loss of this integrated worldview is one of the great fractures in human history. As civilizations rose and fell, the continuity of this understanding was disrupted. Natural disasters, invasions, and social upheavals scattered knowledge, while conquerors and new regimes often dismissed the wisdom of predecessors as superstition or primitive myth. Over time, this led to a fragmentation of knowledge that persists today, with specialized disciplines creating silos of information that rarely interact in a unified way. This division affects not only how we study and understand the past, but also how we relate to the world in the present. When science, spirituality, art, and philosophy are seen as separate or even opposing realms, we lose the capacity to perceive the interconnectedness that once guided human culture. This fragmentation can create a sense of alienation, where the cosmos feels distant and mechanical rather than alive and meaningful. Yet the ruins themselves endure as silent witnesses to this lost integration. They stand as reminders that humanity once understood the world differently, where the cosmos was not a machine to be dissected, but a living, breathing whole to be honored and lived within. Their enduring presence challenges us to look beyond the surface and seek the deeper unity that once guided human creativity and understanding. Modern scholars and researchers are beginning to rediscover this ancient integration through interdisciplinary study, blending archaeology, astronomy, anthropology, and philosophy. By revisiting these sites with new technologies and fresh perspectives, we uncover the layers of meaning encoded in their design and placement. This research reveals not only technical sophistication, but also a spiritual and philosophical depth that modern frameworks often overlook. The precise astronomical alignments demonstrate a knowledge of celestial mechanics that predates modern astronomy. The harmonious proportions built into the structures reveal an appreciation for mathematical constants and ratios that transcend cultures and epochs. The cosmological models embedded in their art and ritual point to a worldview that embraced cyclic time, eternal recurrence, and the interconnectedness of all life. Such discoveries compel us to reconsider our assumptions about ancient civilizations. Rather than viewing them as primitive or disconnected from modern knowledge, we see them as custodians of a wisdom that recognized the unity of existence. Their accomplishments were not just technical achievements, but expressions of a profound understanding of reality's fundamental order. This realization has profound implications for how we approach knowledge today. It invites a holistic mindset that integrates empirical science with spiritual insight, mathematical precision with aesthetic and symbolic meaning. By recovering this unity, we can address not only intellectual questions, but also the deeper human need for meaning, connection, and belonging within the cosmos. In practical terms, this means fostering dialogue across disciplines and cultures, seeking to understand ancient wisdom not as relics, but as living traditions that can inform contemporary life. It encourages us to see knowledge as a dynamic and evolving conversation between mind, matter, and spirit. The ruins, then, are not just monuments of the past, but invitations to engage with a cosmic heritage that remains relevant and vital. The integrated consciousness of ancient builders teaches us that to truly understand the world, we must embrace complexity without fragmentation. We must honor the interplay between science and spirituality, geometry and mythology, art and philosophy. Only by doing so can we rediscover the profound unity that shaped civilizations long ago and awaken to the deeper patterns that continue to govern our existence. Thus, the ruins scattered across the earth are far more than forgotten stones. They are echoes of a lost symphony of knowledge and wisdom, markers of a human journey toward cosmic harmony. They remind us that the division we experience today is not an inevitable condition, but a historical rupture that can be healed. By listening carefully to their silent language, we may begin to restore the integrated vision that once allowed humanity to live in consonance with the universe itself. For these ancient peoples, to build was to pray, to measure was to know, and to know was to remember humanity's place in the cosmic order. Each stone laid, each alignment chosen, was a deliberate act of remembrance and communion. This worldview, however, was subject to the harsh realities of history. Catastrophic floods erased entire settlements, devastating earthquakes buried cities, empires crumbled and were replaced by conquerors who often dismissed the knowledge and artistry of their predecessors as primitive or irrelevant. The stories that survived were distorted, evolving into myth and fantasy. The profound science embedded in these structures was reduced to magic and superstition, deepening the silence and obscuring the original knowledge. Yet, despite these losses, faint echoes of the ancient wisdom persist. The repetition of sacred numbers, 3, 4, 7, 12, permeates calendars, musical symphonies, and religious rituals around the world. These numbers, once seen as keys to cosmic harmony, continue to resonate in human culture. Modern cities, built seemingly apart from the ancient world, often unconsciously echo these geometric principles. Streets and avenues align with cardinal directions. Public spaces and monuments reflect the timing of solstices and equinoxes. Concepts of harmony, balance, and proportion continue to shape architecture and design, demonstrating that ancient sensibilities endure even if unrecognized. This persistence suggests that knowledge was never truly lost. Rather, it was hidden in plain sight, obscured by the layers of cultural change and forgotten language. The cycle of destruction and rebirth is itself part of the cosmic pattern recognized by the ancients. The silence of the stones has a deeper purpose. These monuments endure precisely so they might awaken future generations. They stand as tuning forks of memory, waiting for humanity to listen again, to remember the unity of knowledge and spirit, and to reconnect with the cosmic order that shaped them. Thus, the dual nature of ancient knowledge, its vulnerability to history's ravages, and its remarkable persistence through symbols, numbers, and stone. The fragility of this heritage teaches us about the impermanence of human civilizations, while its persistence offers hope that the wisdom of the past can be reclaimed. It invites us to bridge the gap between knowing and understanding, to hear the silent prayers encoded in ancient geometry, and to appreciate the holistic vision that once guided humanity's greatest achievements. The stones do not merely mark what has been lost, they signal what can still be found. In the unfolding story of humanity's relationship with ancient knowledge, the modern era has brought a profound resurgence of insight, largely propelled by the rapid advancements in technology. Let's explore how contemporary tools, satellites, lasers, sensors, and algorithms are piercing the veil of time, revealing with astonishing clarity the deep geometry and cosmic wisdom encoded in ancient monuments. These innovations allow us not only to see the physical remnants of past civilizations, but to grasp the intricate language in which those civilizations spoke. A language often invisible to the naked eye, but vividly present when observed from new vantage points, especially from above. One of the most remarkable realizations is the understanding that many ancient structures were deliberately designed not just as earthly monuments, but as signals meant to be seen from the sky. Viewed from satellite imagery or aerial surveys, these constructions reveal precise alignments, symmetries, and patterns that transcend the limitations of ground-level perspectives. It suggests that the builders anticipated that someday, far in the future, observers with new technologies like us would decode their messages. This notion challenges our conventional assumptions about the intentions of ancient builders and opens a window into a broader, more cosmic sense of communication across time. A key aspect of this rediscovery is the recognition that fundamental constants of the universe, such as pi, the solstice cycles, and the predictable movements of stars across horizons, have remained unchanged for millennia. These constants are the backdrop against which human history plays out. The monuments constructed in various eras and cultures reference these eternal rhythms, anchoring human timekeeping and cosmology to unalterable celestial mechanics. The constancy of these mathematical and astronomical truths reveals that what we often think of as lost knowledge was in fact simply waiting for us to develop the tools to perceive and understand it again. As inheritors of this ancient message, we stand at a crossroads. Whether or not we choose to listen to these signals, to integrate their wisdom into our own understanding, will determine if our current civilization will be remembered or forgotten by the cycles of time. Just as the ancients built their monuments as architects of time, tracking orbits and rotations, we continue in their footsteps with our satellites circling the globe and clocks dividing time with unerring precision. This continuity highlights a profound connection between past and present, suggesting that our own era will one day pass into history, potentially leaving behind only what we have built and understood. Yet, much of this knowledge has been erased or obscured by cataclysm, neglect, and the relentless passage of time. The civilizations that once thrived with their libraries, rituals, and sophisticated knowledge systems were often reduced to ruins or forgotten myths. The age that follows inherits only fragments of a once rich symphony of understanding, faint geometries etched into stone, subtle alignments to the stars, and scattered clues that hint at a deeper order. This phenomenon is known as the silence of the stones, a moment in the life cycle of civilizations when languages fade, rituals lose meaning, and monuments, though physically enduring, become mute. Though the stones endure as physical entities, their original meaning is often lost to history. Modern archaeologists and scientists may measure angles and distances, categorize sites, and model astronomical alignments, but they frequently lack the full cultural and spiritual context that once imbued these numbers and structures with significance. The ancients did not view mathematics as a dry abstraction or a purely practical tool. They saw it as revelation, a sacred means to understand the cosmos as a living, ordered entity. Monuments were constructed as miniature reconstructions of the universe, embodying cosmic principles in stone, serving as places of communion between humanity and the divine order of existence. The loss of this knowledge equates to a loss of something fundamental to humanity's essence, a deep connection to the cosmos, to integrated consciousness, and to a worldview that unified art, science, religion, and geometry. This integration allowed civilizations to flourish in harmony with natural laws and cosmic cycles. However, the collapse of this integrated knowledge system is a recurring theme throughout history. Civilizations such as Sumer, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and the Maya all followed similar patterns: a rise in knowledge and power, followed by social complexity and centralization, and ultimately collapse due to a variety of pressures: environmental, political, or internal. These collapses fractured the knowledge base, scattering what had once been a coherent system into fragments and silence. Each new age, paradoxically, rediscovers the ancient truths anew. These rediscoveries often come through the gradual accumulation of data and insight, rather than through a continuous chain of understanding. In this way, history is less a straight line of progress than a spiral of forgetting and remembering. The silences between these ages are not merely gaps in knowledge but represent collective amnesia, a temporary loss of the holistic vision that once connected humanity to the cosmos. In that silence, the monuments stand as the last words of a conversation humanity once had with the universe, a conversation that modern technology is helping us to revive. This revival confronts us with the unbearable loss of integrated consciousness, a worldview where knowledge was not compartmentalized, but seen as a single, sacred whole. The ancient builders did not erect monuments for power, glory, or empire alone. They built to commune with the cosmos, to express their place within an eternal order. Their constructions were bridges between the finite and infinite, attempts to anchor the ephemeral human experience within the grand cycles of the heavens. This spiritual and intellectual depth has been obscured by time, conquest, and the relentless advance of modernity, which often regards these ancient efforts as primitive or irrelevant. Despite this deepening silence, faint echoes persist in the stones and their alignments. Through modern satellites, sensors, and computational algorithms, we now have the unprecedented capacity to map, measure, and analyze these monuments in ways the ancients might have barely imagined. We trace their alignments, decode their geometries, and reconstruct lost calendars, revealing the sophistication and intention behind their creation. These technologies illuminate a hidden order, a cosmic design that transcends culture and time, a design the ancients understood intuitively and expressed in their architecture. In many ways, this technological rediscovery is more than an archaeological endeavor. It is a reconnection with a deeper human heritage. It challenges us to go beyond seeing these sites as mere artifacts and to engage with them as living dialogues across time. Each monument becomes a tuning fork that resonates with cosmic harmony, an invitation to remember and realign ourselves with the eternal patterns that govern existence. By listening carefully to the silence of the stones through the lens of modern technology, we glimpse the continuity of human consciousness, a continuity that links us to the builders of the past and points toward the architects of the future. Ultimately, while civilizations may rise and fall, the fundamental geometry and cosmic order remain constant. Our current technological capabilities allow us to participate in this ongoing story of remembrance and rediscovery. The question before us is whether we will heed the lessons embedded in stone and sky, or whether our own era will slip into silence, awaiting future generations to awaken to the same eternal truths. In the rediscovery through modern technology, we find both a profound challenge and a profound hope that humanity's dialogue with the cosmos, once lost, is now beginning anew. Throughout human history, the survival of knowledge has never been a straightforward process of simple preservation. Instead, true knowledge, especially the kind that connects humanity to cosmic order and universal principles, has demonstrated a remarkable resilience and adaptability. This knowledge rarely disappears completely. It instead travels through unconventional channels, stone, song, and silence, beyond the reach of written texts alone. Ancient builders, often overlooked in their role, were the true custodians of memory, responsible not merely for physical constructions, but for ensuring that vital discoveries and understandings would endure far beyond the lifetimes, or even the names, of those who first articulated them. The fate of libraries, grand repositories of written wisdom, stands in sharp contrast to the enduring nature of certain intangible elements encoded in the natural world and monumental architecture. Libraries burn, texts disintegrate, languages become obsolete, but ratios, shadows, and sunrises cannot be destroyed. These elements form a timeless language, a geometry of time and space that bridges ages and civilizations. The ancients understood this deeply and chose to pass geometry and cosmic knowledge not only through texts, but through alignments of monuments, ceremonial rituals, and symbolism. This transmission method ensured that, even when the written word failed, the patterns and cycles would survive, waiting to be recognized again. One of the most compelling evidences for this mode of transmission is the recurrence of Neolithic solstitial alignments in structures spanning vastly different times and cultures. The careful positioning of stones and temples to mark the solstices, a fundamental marker of solar time, first appears in the Neolithic period and then reappears in the monumental architecture of Egyptian temples, continuing onward through later civilizations. This continuity reveals a shared understanding of the celestial cycles that govern time, embedded in the very fabric of human culture. Egypt, often called the cradle of early sophisticated civilization, encoded profound wisdom not only in its temples and pyramids, but also in myth. Following Egypt's cultural flowering, civilizations such as Greece, Babylon, India, and the Maya preserved fragments of this ancient wisdom. Each civilization, perhaps unaware of the true origins, believed themselves to be the first to discover this knowledge, a belief born out of their own experience of revelation. This phenomenon is not surprising because the knowledge was not simply about facts or data. It was about pattern recognition and the cyclical nature of the cosmos. Transmission, therefore, preserved these patterns, a cosmic grammar, more than it preserved specific factual details. Mythology, often dismissed in modern thought as mere fantasy or superstition, played an essential role in this transmission process. Celestial cycles were encoded as metaphor and allegory, stories designed to be understood across generations and to withstand the erosion of explicit knowledge. These myths served as vessels, safeguarding complex astronomical knowledge in forms accessible to the collective memory of civilizations. For example, the Osiris myth in Egyptian lore reflects themes of celestial fragmentation and reconstitution, mirroring cycles of death and rebirth observed in the stars and seasons. This myth, layered with symbolic meaning, encapsulates cosmic truths while offering a narrative framework for understanding the universe. Similarly, the concept of Hindu yugas, vast epochs describing cycles of creation, preservation and destruction, encodes the precession of the equinoxes, a celestial phenomenon involving the slow wobble of Earth's axis over approximately 25,920 years. This cycle was not isolated knowledge but mirrored by the Maya calendar, which also tracks these celestial rhythms, illustrating a convergence of understanding across continents separated by vast oceans. Though these civilizations developed independently, their encoded knowledge points to a shared cosmic vision, a recognition of time as cyclical and the universe as a rhythmic, ordered whole. The form in which this knowledge was preserved evolved over time. While the underlying mathematics and astronomical truths remained constant, the means of transmission changed, adapting to cultural contexts. Builders and priests encrypted this knowledge within religion and ritual, recognizing that sacred traditions have an unparalleled power to preserve meaning across generations. This intertwining of geometry, astronomy, and spirituality ensured that knowledge survived even when political or social upheaval threatened written records. Memory itself is fragile, vulnerable to loss or distortion through time. Moreover, the dynamics of power often corrupted knowledge, leading to selective preservation or concealment. In some cases, truth had to be hidden deliberately, cloaked in religious symbolism and parable, to endure in hostile or unstable environments. Sacred geometry, for example, was often embedded within religious architecture and rites, not as a simple scientific fact but as a mystery cloaked in symbolism, accessible only to initiates or those prepared to look beyond surface meaning. This encryption of cosmic cycles within religion and myth functioned both as protection and invitation, safeguarding knowledge while signaling its importance and sanctity. Ancient temples, pyramids, and myths stand not merely as remnants of bygone eras, but as intricate cryptographic systems purposefully designed to encode and preserve profound knowledge across vast stretches of time. These creations were not random or purely decorative. Rather, their builders anticipated the inevitable disruptions of history, periods when memory would falter, civilizations would collapse, and languages would vanish. Understanding this, they crafted layers of meaning within their structures and stories, like encrypted messages hidden beneath surface appearances, waiting to be uncovered and decoded by future generations possessing the insight and tools to unlock their secrets. This foresight was critical because the passage of time rarely preserves knowledge in a continuous, unbroken chain. Instead, it introduces silences, eras where the meanings behind symbols and alignments are lost or dismissed, and where the knowledge embedded in sacred architecture and myth can be misunderstood as mere superstition, mythological fancy, or coincidence. For centuries, early scholars and explorers often failed to grasp the depth of intention underlying these ancient works. Many considered their celestial alignments and precise geometries as the product of simple observation or accident, discounting the sophisticated mathematical and cosmological knowledge that had clearly guided their construction. It is only through the painstaking efforts of modern astronomy, archaeology, and related sciences that the reality of these deliberate encodings has begun to emerge from obscurity. Decoding these ancient messages requires a multidisciplinary approach, combining the understanding of celestial mechanics with archaeology, geometry, mythology, and anthropology. When viewed through this integrated lens, what appears at first as isolated monuments or fragmented myths coalesces into a coherent system of knowledge transmission. The alignments of temples with solstices and equinoxes, the mathematical proportions embedded within pyramid design, and the symbolic narratives encoded in myth all reflect a conscious effort to map the eternal rhythms of the cosmos onto human culture and memory. These elements functioned as a sophisticated form of knowledge preservation, capable of enduring the destruction of written records, political upheaval, and cultural transformation. What arises from this deeper examination is a powerful realization. The architects of time were far more than stonemasons or mythmakers. They were custodians of a cosmic dialogue. They understood that human civilizations are transient, but that knowledge, especially knowledge grounded in the eternal patterns of the universe, could be preserved through symbols, alignments, and narratives that transcend individual lifespans and cultural boundaries. Their monuments and myths acted as vessels of continuity, ensuring that the essence of cosmic knowledge, the geometries, cycles, and harmonies encoded in the heavens and the earth, would remain accessible to those willing to seek it, decode it, and learn from it. This transmission of knowledge was not linear or uninterrupted. History is marked by silences, the burning of libraries, the fall of empires, the loss of languages and traditions. Yet these silences did not signify the end of the conversation, but rather pauses within an ongoing dialogue. The knowledge encoded in sacred structures and stories survived in fragments, waiting for periods of rediscovery. Each era of awakening, whether through the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, or modern scientific inquiry, has peeled back another layer of this cryptic system, revealing new insights into the cosmos and humanity's place within it. The idea that ancient myths are more than fanciful stories, that they function as encrypted records of celestial knowledge, is a transformative perspective. Flood myths, cycles of creation and destruction, tales of gods and heroes can be understood as metaphorical representations of astronomical cycles, such as the precession of the equinoxes or the passage of celestial bodies. The myths served as mnemonic devices, preserving complex cosmological knowledge in narrative form accessible to societies that may have lacked formal written records or widespread literacy. These stories ensured that the essential cosmic rhythms remained imprinted on cultural consciousness, ready to be decoded anew by future generations who could recognize their deeper meaning. Similarly, the architecture of ancient temples and pyramids was far more than grand displays of power or religious devotion. Their layouts were meticulously planned to correspond with celestial events, aligning with solstices, equinoxes, star risings, and planetary cycles, effectively making these structures three-dimensional calendars and observatories. This intentional design reflects a worldview in which the cosmos and human existence are deeply interconnected, where sacred spaces serve as microcosms of the universe itself. By embedding cosmic patterns into stone, the builders ensured that their civilizations could remain in dialogue with celestial time, maintaining awareness of humanity's place within the grand cosmic order. This cosmic dialogue, encoded in architecture and myth, thus represents a profound act of preservation and transmission. The ancient builders were aware that physical monuments might eventually be damaged or forgotten, that languages could disappear, and that empires might fall. However, they trusted that the universal language of geometry, proportion, and celestial cycles would endure and could be rediscovered by those with the curiosity and insight to interpret these signs. This knowledge was never static. It was a living conversation, evolving as each generation interpreted and reinterpreted its symbols and alignments in light of their own understanding and context. In honoring this legacy, modern scholars and seekers do more than simply unearth artifacts or decode ancient texts. They participate in a timeless human quest to bridge the finite and infinite, the temporal and eternal, the material and spiritual. Recognizing the deliberate encoding of time and geometry in sacred structures and myths invites us to view these ancient achievements not as relics of a lost world, but as ongoing invitations to engage with the cosmos. This recognition reawakens the ancient conversation, positioning us as active participants in a continuum that connects past, present, and future. Moreover, this understanding challenges modern perceptions that science and spirituality must be separate or even opposed domains. The ancient custodians of knowledge seamlessly integrated empirical observation with spiritual insight, using mathematics and myth not just to explain the physical world, but to situate humanity within a cosmic framework of meaning and purpose. Rediscovering their cryptographic systems invites us to re-establish this integration, blending scientific inquiry with philosophical reflection and spiritual awareness. Ultimately, the enduring value of these ancient codes lies not only in what they reveal about past civilizations, but also in what they offer to our present and future. They provide a framework for perceiving reality as an interconnected whole, a cosmos alive with meaning, order, and rhythm. The cosmic dialogue preserved in stone and story encourages us to look beyond fragmented knowledge and rediscover a unified vision where geometry, time, myth, and human consciousness resonate in harmony. By engaging deeply with the intentionality behind ancient construction and myth-making, we honor the legacy of the architects of time. We acknowledge their role as custodians who, through careful encoding and transmission, ensured that the eternal patterns of the universe could survive humanity's inevitable cycles of remembering and forgetting. This knowledge invites us to become not just passive inheritors of ancient wisdom, but active participants in its ongoing unfolding, a journey of discovery that continues as long as we remain willing to listen, learn, and carry forward the cosmic conversation. The story of knowledge transmission is one of resilience, adaptation, and profound reverence for cosmic order. True knowledge transcends the fragility of texts and spoken word. It lives in the geometry of monuments, the cadence of ritual, and the enduring power of myth. The ancient builders were indeed the architects of time, crafting a legacy that challenges us to recognize the sacred patterns in our own era and to carry forward the timeless wisdom embedded in the language of stone and sky. The quest to understand the universe has always intertwined with humanity's deep fascination with numbers and harmony. Across millennia and continents, mathematicians and archaeologists have uncovered astonishing evidence that irrational constants and sacred ratios are embedded within ancient designs, revealing a profound and universal language that transcends cultures and epochs. This language is not merely a tool for calculation or construction, but an eternal code, a cosmic harmony written into stone, earth, and sky. As we explore, we uncover how these timeless patterns articulate an ongoing dialogue between humanity and the cosmos, a dialogue that links our distant past with our present and potentially our future. At the heart of this understanding is the recognition that progress, as humanity experiences it, may not be a linear journey but a cyclical process, a spiral winding through history, returning repeatedly to the same fundamental truths. The notion of progress as a rediscovery rather than a constant accumulation is supported by the astonishing recurrence of specific mathematical constants and geometric principles across cultures separated by vast distances and thousands of years. These shared patterns prompt a profound question. Is civilization merely a succession of rises and falls, each rediscovering the eternal mathematics woven into the fabric of reality? The architects of time, as we might call these ancient builders and scholars, constructed monuments not solely for their own contemporaries, but with an eye toward distant futures, generations removed by centuries or even millennia. These monuments functioned as deliberate signals designed for future eyes, meant to convey meaning and preserve knowledge when spoken language might fail. In essence, the stones themselves were a medium of communication, encoding knowledge in a language of number and proportion that might survive the erosion of time and the loss of cultures. Measuring time inherently involves measuring both loss and recurrence. Natural cycles persist with unfailing regularity. The value of pi remains constant across epochs. The solstices continue to divide the year, and the stars trace familiar paths across the horizon, just as they did for ancient observers. These constants act as the backbone of an eternal rhythm, a universal metronome by which the cosmos keeps its beat. Through these unchanging truths, the stones whisper messages that modern humanity must consciously choose to listen to, for the silence of the stones is not emptiness, but an invitation, an encrypted message waiting for recognition. In our era, modern technology has allowed us to become the latest custodians of this ancient knowledge. Our glass towers, digital clocks, and satellites now trace the orbits and rotations once first observed by the ancients, continuing the cycle of measurement and observation. However, our own future remains uncertain. Just as civilizations before us have vanished, leaving only ruins and remnants, we too may one day disappear, leaving behind only the knowledge we have understood and the monuments we have built. This sobering prospect places a heavy responsibility on our generation to comprehend and preserve the knowledge we inherit. Yet, the story of civilization is often one of fragmentation and loss. The next age invariably inherits only fragments, shards of geometry, faint echoes of a once complete symphony of knowledge. The silence of the stones marks the gap between knowing and understanding, between the ability to measure phenomena and the deeper comprehension of their meaning. One of history's greatest tragedies was the burning of the Library of Alexandria, an event that symbolized not just the loss of parchment, but the destruction of continuity itself. This catastrophic loss erased thousands of years of accumulated insight, including records of civilizations predating Egypt, celestial mechanics, and maps of forgotten worlds. While the stones, pyramids, temples, and monuments endured, the knowledge required to interpret their language vanished, creating a profound disconnect between the physical evidence and its intended meaning. Today, we find ourselves measuring and calculating what the ancients once worshipped and revered. Yet we often reduce their divine experience to mere data points. This reduction strips away the essence of their understanding, transforming what was once a living communion with the cosmos into abstract scientific inquiry devoid of spiritual context. The cycles of civilization's rise and fall echo throughout history, with knowledge accumulating, centralizing, and becoming complex before fracturing and collapse. After such collapses, survivors inherit fragments of knowledge, enough to inspire wonder, but insufficient to fully reconstruct the original wisdom. This silence between ages is not a void, but a form of collective amnesia, where memory dims and ancient understanding is obscured by time. Ruins such as Angkor, Tiwanaku, and Stonehenge are not mere relics of superstition or primitive craftsmanship. They are residues of a once integrated understanding of the cosmos, testimonies to civilizations that once saw the world as a unified whole. The loss of this integrated knowledge is profound and almost unbearable, for the ancients recognized that disciplines now separated, physics, geometry, art, religion, were once facets of a singular vision. To them, building was an act of prayer, a sacred performance meant to align humanity with cosmic order. Measurement was knowledge in its purest form, a remembrance of humanity's place within the grand cosmic design. Unfortunately, history has been merciless in erasing this ancient knowledge through natural disasters, floods, earthquakes, and human actions such as war and conquest. The narratives of survivors often transformed profound truths into myth and fantasy, and science became indistinguishable from magic in the popular consciousness. Yet even through this deepening silence, faint echoes of sacred numbers survive, embedded in our rituals, calendars, and cultural traditions. Modern cities too continue to reflect this ancient geometry, often unconsciously. The alignment of streets to cardinal directions, the marking of time by solstices, and the use of harmonious proportions in architecture all harken back to these ancient principles. This ongoing resonance suggests that knowledge was never truly lost but only unrecognized, lying dormant beneath layers of cultural change and forgetfulness. Destruction, then, is not merely an end, but part of a cosmic cycle, one that includes the silence of the stones as a preparatory phase for future remembering. The stones endure through this silence, standing as waiting sentinels. They remind us that knowledge is cyclical, that human civilizations are but moments in an eternal spiral of forgetting and remembering. Through this eternal language of number and harmony, the universe continues to speak, offering us the possibility of reconnecting with the timeless order and beauty that has guided countless generations before us. In every corner of the ancient world, from the towering pyramids of Egypt to the vast temple complexes of Angkor and the mysterious stone circles of Stonehenge, there exists a remarkable harmony of form, proportion, and meaning. This harmony transcends mere architectural skill. It is a profound expression of cosmic order woven into myth, ritual, and geometry. Ancient peoples encoded their understanding of the universe not only in their scientific observations but in the very stories and symbols that shaped their cultures. These myths, far from being simple fables or superstitions, are in fact metaphorical records of cosmic patterns and celestial mechanics, carefully preserving knowledge of time, space, and existence itself. At the heart of this ancient understanding lies the recognition that geometry was not simply a mathematical tool, but a sacred language linking the human and the divine. The world was seen as a living, ordered whole, where every shape, ratio, and alignment echoed a universal truth. Flood stories, creation cycles, and destruction myths, narratives found globally from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Hindu cosmology, are not just symbolic tales. They encode astronomical timeframes, epochs of creation and destruction, the cycles of precession, and the great yugas, or ages known to the Maya, Sumerians, and Hindus. The recurring theme across these myths is one of an endless renewing circle, a cosmic rhythm that governs the heavens and, by extension, the earth and human life. This cosmic order is captured in the timeless principle of as above, so below. The universe and humanity mirror one another. This axiom implies a profound unity between the macrocosm of the stars and the microcosm of human experience. The geometry inscribed in temples, pyramids, and monuments was designed to reflect this relationship, linking the heavens and earth in a sacred dialogue. The gods of these ancient cultures were not distant or unknowable beings, but were intimately tied to the planets, the cycles of the sun and moon, and the machinery of the cosmos itself. They were living, moving embodiments of celestial order, divine machines marking the eternal passage of time. What modern scholarship often mistakes for myth or superstition is, in fact, the encoded intuition of ancient peoples who glimpsed a unity between consciousness and cosmos. The rediscovery of shared ratios, such as the golden ratio, phi, and the mathematical constant pi across disparate cultures is no accident or conspiracy. Instead, it represents a collective, intuitive grasp of the underlying geometry of existence, a universal language expressing the harmony of all things. Mathematics in this ancient worldview was not an invention but a revelation, a language through which the universe itself was understood. It was inseparable from faith, cosmology, and daily life. Temples and pyramids were, in essence, miniature reconstructions of the universe, designed to embody the divine order in physical form. Their precise alignments, proportions, and symbolic elements created a bridge between the finite human world and the infinite cosmos. This architectural cosmology was a way for ancient peoples to participate in the cosmic cycle, to align their lives with celestial rhythms, and to secure their place within the eternal pattern of existence. When this knowledge was lost, whether through war, conquest, natural disaster, or cultural decay, humanity suffered more than the loss of information. It lost an essential connection to the cosmos, to itself, and to meaning. The history of civilization is marked by repeated cycles of accumulation and loss of knowledge. Civilizations such as Sumer, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and the Maya each experienced rises in complexity, centralized power, and intellectual achievement, only to collapse through drought, invasion, neglect, or hubris. With each collapse, libraries burned, scribes died, and secret knowledge scattered. What followed was a silence, not an absence, but a pause in memory, a forgetting of cosmic knowledge that once bound societies together. Ruins today, whether the jungle-covered towers of Angkor, the dust-shrouded stones of Tiwanaku, or the weathered circles of Stonehenge, are not mere relics of superstition, but the last words of a conversation humanity once had with the universe. These ancient monuments reveal a consciousness that saw the world as an integrated whole, one in which art, science, religion, and philosophy were facets of a unified understanding. This is a stark contrast to the modern tendency to divide these disciplines into isolated fields of study. The ancients did not separate physics from spirituality, geometry from ritual, or cosmology from faith. To them, to build was to pray, to measure was to know, and to know was to remember humanity's place in the cosmic order. Unfortunately, this integrated worldview was systematically erased through natural catastrophes like floods and earthquakes, through the collapse of empires, and through the ignorance or cruelty of conquerors who looted and destroyed. The survivors of these collapses transformed the original wisdom into stories, myths and fantasies stripped of their deeper cosmic meanings. Scientific understanding became cloaked in magic. Sacred geometry became ornamental or forgotten. The silence deepened, yet faint echoes of this lost knowledge persist. The number 3, for example, often symbolizes completeness or unity in mythologies and religions. 4 represents the cardinal directions and the earthly realm. 7 is linked to celestial bodies and spiritual perfection, and 12 marks cycles of time, from months to zodiac signs. These numbers are not arbitrary, but resonate with the fundamental patterns of the cosmos, subtly encoded in the rhythms of life and the structure of reality itself. Even in modern urban design and architecture, there are unconscious echoes of this ancient geometry. The alignment of city grids with cardinal directions, the incorporation of solstice and equinox markers, and the use of harmonious proportions all suggest that the language of the ancients endures beneath the surface of contemporary life, whether recognized or not. This ongoing resonance hints that the knowledge was never truly lost, only forgotten, obscured by time and culture. The cycle of destruction and silence, followed by rediscovery and remembering, is itself part of the cosmic pattern. The stones endure not simply as historical artifacts, but as tuning forks for future generations, waiting to awaken in those who can hear their message. They stand as reminders that knowledge is cyclical, that civilization is a continuous act of remembering and forgetting, and that the geometry of myth and cosmos remains the eternal thread linking all human experience. The geometry of myth and the cosmos reveals an ancient unity of thought, faith, and science, an understanding that the universe is a living, ordered whole, and that human beings are reflections of its eternal design. By exploring these patterns deeply embedded in myths, rituals, and monuments, we uncover a timeless story of connection and continuity, inviting us to rediscover the sacred geometry that shapes both the stars above and the lives below. Throughout the vast expanse of the cosmos and the intricate complexity of life itself, there exists a profound and unifying truth, a universal pattern that manifests in everything from the orbits of planets and the spirals of galaxies to the rhythms of the human heartbeat and the architecture of ancient temples. This pattern is not a random coincidence, but a fundamental aspect of reality, a cosmic geometry woven into the very fabric of existence. It is a pattern so pervasive and consistent that it guided the hands and minds of our ancestors as they carved their understanding of eternity into stone, creating monuments that continue to echo across millennia. The foundation of this reality is built upon what can be called cosmic mathematics, a set of eternal truths expressed through ratios, symmetries, and harmonies that repeat across scales, from the delicate curve of a seashell to the vast spiral arms of galaxies. This mathematics is not a human invention devised recently, but rather an eternal principle, an intrinsic order that underlies all things. Human beings, whether consciously or unconsciously, remember this pattern. It is etched deep within our collective memory, whispering through our biology, culture, and cognition. The eternal equation itself is not a simple formula written on paper or encoded in a textbook. Instead, it is a universal memory etched into the universe, an underlying truth that every civilization throughout history has rediscovered in fragments, often mistaking these revelations for original inventions. This equation reveals itself in constants, such as pi, the circle constant, phi, the golden ratio, and various harmonic ratios that resonate through music, architecture, and natural forms. These constants are primordial, existing before human awareness and independent of any culture or time. What this eternal equation also shows us is that consciousness and the cosmos are intertwined, not separate entities, but two aspects of a unified reality. The ancients encoded this profound insight into their architecture, crafting pyramids, temples, circles, and cities aligned precisely to celestial equations. These structures were not mere buildings. They were living symbols of a shared cosmic truth, designed to survive human amnesia and act as bridges across time, connecting generations with the eternal rhythms of the universe. In this light, civilization is not a linear march forward, but a participation in an ancient recurrence. Knowledge rises and falls like breath, expanding and contracting in cycles. Progress, therefore, is cyclical, not a straight line toward ever-increasing complexity or mastery. Each era attempts to solve the same eternal equation anew, seeking to name and understand the invisible order that governs existence. Humanity's true story is one of remembrance, not invention, a rediscovery of what was always known deep within the cosmic design. The stones left behind by ancient builders are not trophies to their achievements, but reminders to us, markers of a profound dialogue between human beings and the cosmos. The universe itself is an act of symmetry, and conscious beings are reflections of its intricate geometry. The monuments scattered across the globe, from Göbekli Tepe to Pumapunku, are experiments in permanence, proofs of concept that civilizations may perish, but proportion and pattern endure. The builders of these monuments understood a critical truth. Civilizations die, empires fall, and languages fade, but proportions endure across time and space. If one wishes to speak to eternity, one must speak in numbers, the universal language of geometry and harmony. This is evident in some of the most famous ancient structures, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza. Here, the ratio between the pyramid's height and its perimeter equals pi, uniting the square and the circle, the earthly and the heavenly realms. This remarkable mathematical insight embodies the idea that geometry can bridge finite forms with infinite concepts. Similarly, the layout of Angkor Wat reflects an understanding of cosmic time cycles, specifically the Yuga cycles of creation and destruction that span vast epochs in Hindu cosmology. The temple's distances and orientations encode these cycles, linking earthly construction with celestial motion. Chaco Canyon, another ancient site, is a testament to this understanding, as it tracks solar movement with precision, marking solstices and equinoxes in stone. The Antikythera mechanism, often called the world's first analog computer, models planetary motions and celestial cycles, encapsulating complex astronomical knowledge in gears and dials. Each of these fragments, from pyramids and temples to ancient machines, reflects the profound recognition that time and matter follow order. The cosmos itself is more than physical matter moving randomly through space. It is an expression of order and beauty. The very word cosmos means both universe and beauty, revealing the ancient understanding that these two qualities are inseparable. To live in harmony with this order is to become part of the cosmic design, to align oneself with the rhythms that govern all existence. This eternal equation, then, is not just about numbers and shapes. It is a way of being and knowing that invites us to perceive ourselves not as separate from the universe, but as intrinsic participants in its unfolding. It is a call to recognize that the spirals of galaxies and the patterns within our own DNA are expressions of the same underlying geometry. By embracing this truth, we can reconnect with the wisdom of the ancients and rediscover our place within the eternal cycle of creation and remembrance. The pattern itself is astonishing in its universality. The spiral shape seen in the shells of mollusks mirrors the grand design of the Milky Way. The same ratios found in the human body, from the proportions of the face to the length of limbs, appear in the architecture of sacred sites. These correspondences are not accidental but manifestations of a shared cosmic blueprint. This blueprint is not static, it is a living geometry, a dynamic interplay of forces that shape the cosmos and consciousness alike.
This universal pattern also appears in time and sound. The rhythms of our heartbeat, the cycles of day and night, the passage of seasons, all resonate with the same harmonic principles encoded in ancient metrologies. The concept of harmony, central to ancient Greek philosophy and many other traditions, reflects the recognition that balance and proportion create beauty and order both in music and in the cosmos. The ancients used sound and architecture in tandem, designing spaces where resonance and standing waves created experiences of transcendence and connection with the divine.
In embracing the eternal equation, we begin to see civilization itself as a participatory act, a collective effort to name and navigate the invisible order that shapes all reality. Our ancestors were not merely builders or astronomers, but custodians of cosmic memory, encoding knowledge in stone and story to ensure that it would survive the inevitable cycles of forgetting and rediscovery. Moreover, this pattern reveals that knowledge is never truly lost. It lies dormant, waiting to be remembered. The cyclical nature of progress means that every era, including our own, stands on the threshold of rediscovery. The eternal equation is a reminder that beneath the surface chaos of history and culture, there is a consistent, enduring design, a cosmic grammar that connects all moments, all places, and all beings. As modern science uncovers these patterns with greater precision, from the fractal geometry of nature to the intricate harmonics of quantum physics, we find ourselves coming full circle, converging once more on the ancient truths that shaped the earliest monuments. The knowledge that once seemed lost is re-emerging, illuminated by new tools, but fundamentally unchanged in its essence. The eternal equation teaches us that the universe is not a cold, random void, but a living, ordered, and beautiful whole. We are not isolated observers, but active participants in an ongoing act of cosmic recognition. Our own consciousness, our own lives, are expressions of this universal geometry. And just as the ancients carved their knowledge into stone for future generations, so too are we shaping the legacy that will endure beyond our time. In this light, the quest for understanding becomes a sacred journey, a remembrance of the pattern that has always been, the geometry that binds all things, and the eternal dance of symmetry and proportion that defines existence. The stones and stars, the rhythms of life, and the shapes of galaxies all speak the same language, inviting us to awaken, to listen, and to remember the eternal equation. In the unfolding story of human civilization, a profound and troubling truth stands out. Modern society has inherited the mathematics of ancient wisdom, but largely lost the deeper meaning behind these numbers and patterns. We have become masters of calculation, able to determine the orbits of planets with astounding precision and construct machines that model the universe in all its complexity. Yet paradoxically, we have forgotten the purpose behind these cosmic motions and the true nature of the universe itself. The universe is not merely a mechanism to be analyzed. It is a vast, living geometry through which consciousness learns about itself. This loss is more than a technical oversight. It is a separation between knowledge and wisdom that defines the spiritual and intellectual crisis of modernity. The eternal equation, the universal pattern of harmony, proportion, and cosmic order, was never meant to be reduced to a mere problem to solve. It was meant to be experienced, embodied, and understood as a fundamental reality that connects all things. This equation is inscribed not only in the physical world, in stone monuments or the stars, but also within ourselves. The spiral of a fern frond and the coils of DNA share the same mathematical proportions, the same harmonious ratios that govern the orbits of moons and the firing patterns of neurons in our brains. In a very literal sense, humans are living expressions of the mathematics we seek to understand. This recognition that the universe does not merely contain order, but that order unfolds through awareness itself, is one of the deepest insights passed down by ancient civilizations. The ancients did not worship the sun, stars, or planets as distant gods to be feared or obeyed. Instead, they saw them as mirrors reflecting the nature of human existence and consciousness. Their geometry was a reflection of themselves, an embodiment of cosmic truths woven into their lives, rituals, and monuments. The temples and structures they built were not monuments to power or empire, but were created for remembrance, as bridges between the finite human experience and the infinite cosmos. These monuments serve to remind humans of their celestial nature and their place within a vast, ordered design. But when a civilization loses alignment with this cosmic pattern, it drifts into chaos, disconnecting from the deeper order that sustains life and culture. This loss of alignment is arguably the predicament of humanity today, a silence in the soul of civilization that separates knowledge from wisdom. We find ourselves surrounded by information and technology, yet starved for meaning and connection. The silence we inhabit is not an absence, but a distance between knowing and understanding. The eternal equation hums beneath everything, in the orbits of planets, the frequencies of sound waves, and the steady beating of our hearts. But this subtle harmony is often drowned out by the noise and haste of modern life, obscured by the distractions and complexities we create. Despite this, the eternal pattern waits patiently for rediscovery, an ever-present invitation to awaken and realign. Ancient monuments, those great pyramids, stone circles, and temples, were not only architectural achievements, but also tuning forks for civilization. They were designed to resonate with the cosmic order and to realign humanity whenever it drifted too far from its true course. These structures vibrate with the knowledge of proportion and rhythm, calling out to us across time, reminding us that we are part of something larger, something eternal. Although we have drifted away from this alignment, the impulse to find order, harmony, and meaning remains a fundamental aspect of human nature. We are still the species that first raised stones to the sky, attempting to speak the language of eternity. The stones they left behind are like punctuation marks in an unfinished cosmic sentence, reminders that our story is part of a vast ongoing dialogue between human consciousness and the universe. The eternal equation is not something distant or abstract. It exists in the rhythm of our own thought, the breath of birth and death, the movements of atoms and stars. We are, quite literally, the living proof of this equation, the universe remembering itself through the intricate dance of our existence. This suggests that the pattern is conscious, that creation itself is not a singular event, but an ongoing act of recognition and becoming. Every civilization, every monument built, and every collapse endured is a moment in this ongoing recognition, a pause, a breath, a turning point in the eternal cycle. Civilizations rise, build, remember, and then fall into silence, only to be followed by new generations that rediscover the ancient patterns and continue the story. The journey toward rediscovery is fundamentally a quest to reclaim a profound and ancient connection that humanity once held, a connection between knowledge and wisdom, between the external measurements of the cosmos and the internal experiences of human consciousness. This is not merely about amassing facts or understanding physical laws. It is about bridging the gap between intellectual understanding and lived, embodied insight. In the past, these two realms, scientific inquiry and spiritual wisdom, were not viewed as separate or conflicting. Instead, they were intertwined facets of a singular pursuit, to grasp the eternal equation, the underlying order and meaning of existence. Today, modern science and ancient spirituality often seem like opposing forces. Science is seen as objective, empirical, and analytical, focused on measurement and description. Spirituality, by contrast, is often regarded as subjective, experiential, and symbolic, centered on meaning and inner transformation. However, this division is a relatively recent development in human history, born out of the specialization and compartmentalization of knowledge. The ancients did not separate these domains. They recognized that understanding the cosmos was not just about quantifying stars or stones, but about experiencing the unity of all things: mind and matter, heaven and earth, number and spirit. Reclaiming this lost synthesis is essential because it allows us to engage with the eternal equation in its fullness. Science, with its powerful tools and methods, reveals the precise patterns that govern the universe: mathematical constants, geometric proportions, cycles of celestial bodies, and harmonic vibrations that echo through nature and culture alike. Yet science alone can only describe these patterns. It does not, by itself, explain what they mean for our lives, our consciousness, or our place within the vast unfolding of existence. This is where wisdom enters the dialogue. Wisdom goes beyond data and models. It interprets the significance of patterns, offering insight into how these cosmic rhythms shape our inner worlds and collective destiny. It invites us to embody the truths that science reveals, integrating knowledge with ethical understanding, spiritual insight, and holistic awareness. Wisdom teaches us that the universe is not a static machine but a dynamic, living process, an ongoing dance of order and chaos, symmetry and transformation. This dance is both cosmic and personal, visible in the orbits of planets and in the rhythms of our own hearts and minds. To embrace this synthesis requires a profound shift in perspective. Instead of viewing the universe as a mere collection of discrete objects, separate stars, atoms, or monuments, we come to see it as an interconnected web of relationships and processes. Everything is in motion, unfolding through patterns of resonance, proportion, and transformation. The geometry that shaped ancient temples and monuments is not confined to stone. It is inscribed in the very fabric of reality and reflected in the patterns of our own lives. This recognition invites us to listen once again to the silent language of the stones and stars. The monuments left by ancient civilizations were never just physical constructions. They were deliberate messages encoded in geometry and alignment, meant to speak across time to those with eyes and hearts open enough to perceive their meaning. Today, as we use satellites, lasers, and algorithms to map these structures, we are not only uncovering their physical dimensions, but awakening to the deeper language they speak, the language of cosmic harmony and human remembrance. Understanding this language also means recognizing that the patterns of the cosmos are mirrored within us. The same ratios that govern the spiral of galaxies and the unfolding of shells also shape our DNA and the firing of neurons. The eternal equation is not only written in stone or star, it is inscribed in the rhythm of breath, thought, birth, and death. Our consciousness is both a product and an expression of the cosmic order. To truly comprehend the universe, then, we must look inward as well as outward, experiencing the unity of all things in ourselves. This inward journey is a call to awaken from the fragmentation that has characterized much of modern life, the split between mind and body, science and spirit, individual and cosmos. It is an invitation to remember that we are not isolated observers, but active participants in the cosmic dance. We are part of the eternal flow of creation, bearing the capacity to perceive, understand, and contribute to the unfolding of universal patterns. Reclaiming this connection between knowledge and wisdom also holds profound implications for how we live on this planet. When we see ourselves as integral to the cosmic order, our relationship with nature, each other, and the future changes. We begin to recognize that harmony, balance, and proportion are not abstract ideals, but practical necessities for sustaining life and civilization. The ancient builders encoded these principles into their architecture, not only as intellectual exercises, but as prayers for continuity and alignment with the cosmos. By realigning ourselves with these principles, we open the door to healing the dissonance and chaos that have marked much of human history. The collapse of civilizations in the past often stemmed from losing sight of the cosmic order, whether through environmental imbalance, social fragmentation, or spiritual disconnection. Today, facing global challenges, we are called to recover the integrated vision that once sustained great cultures, to weave together scientific understanding and spiritual insight into a holistic approach to life. In practical terms, this means fostering an awareness that every action, thought, and creation participates in the larger pattern. It encourages us to engage with technology, science, and art, not as isolated disciplines, but as expressions of a unified cosmic intelligence. It invites the revival of rituals, symbols, and practices that connect us to the cycles of nature and the cosmos, reminding us of our place in the eternal dance. This path to rediscovery is neither quick nor easy. It requires humility, patience, and openness, a willingness to listen beyond the noise of modern life and to see beyond the surface of things. It asks us to embrace paradox, to hold scientific rigor and spiritual mystery together without forcing one to dominate the other. It challenges the prevailing narratives of linear progress and domination, suggesting instead a circular, rhythmic view of history and knowledge. Yet the rewards of this journey are profound. To reclaim the lost synthesis of knowledge and wisdom is to awaken to a fuller experience of reality, one that honors the ancient echoes within us and the cosmic patterns that sustain all life. It reconnects us to the silent language of the stones and stars, allowing their messages to resonate once more in our consciousness and culture. In this way, the path to rediscovery is a renewal of human potential, a restoration of our role as conscious co-creators within the vast cosmic tapestry. It is an invitation to participate fully and consciously in the eternal equation, to add our voice and thread to the unfolding story of the universe, ensuring that the cycle of remembering and understanding continues for generations yet to come. In practical terms, this means embracing both rational inquiry and spiritual reflection, integrating mathematics, art, and philosophy into a unified worldview that honors the mystery and beauty of existence. It means recognizing that progress is not simply technological advancement, but the deepening of our alignment with the cosmic order. As we face the challenges of the modern world, environmental crises, social upheavals, and existential anxieties, this ancient wisdom offers a compass. It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole, connected to the cycles of nature and the cosmos. Our survival and flourishing depend on rediscovering the patterns that sustain life and using this knowledge to build a harmonious future. The rediscovery of the eternal equation is not just an academic pursuit. It is a call to awaken to our true nature and to the timeless dance of creation in which we participate. It invites us to become conscious architects of our own time, aware that the legacy we leave behind will become the stones and stories for future generations. Modernity's loss of meaning is not a permanent rupture, but a phase in a larger cycle. The path to rediscovery lies in remembering that mathematics is not merely a tool, but a language of the cosmos, a bridge between the finite and infinite. The eternal equation waits quietly beneath the surface of our lives, humming in the orbits of planets, the rhythm of heartbeats, and the spiral of DNA. To listen to it is to reconnect with the profound truth that the universe remembers itself through us, and that our journey is one of continual recognition, remembrance, and renewal. By embracing this truth, we not only reclaim the lost wisdom of the ancients, but also open the door to a future where science and spirit, knowledge and wisdom are once again united in the shared pursuit of understanding the eternal geometry of existence. The narrative of human civilization, when viewed through the lens of time, reveals a humbling truth. Every physical monument we construct, whether crafted from stone, steel, or glass, is ultimately impermanent. The Great Pyramids, towering cathedrals, and gleaming modern skyscrapers all face the inexorable forces of nature. Steel will rust, glass will shatter and fall, and even our most sophisticated satellites will eventually degrade, disintegrating and returning to the dust from which they emerged. Yet, amid this inevitable decay, something far more profound endures. The patterns, the ratios, the alignments, and the echoes of geometry that have guided builders, visionaries, and civilizations across millennia. These patterns are the true legacy of the eternal equation, buried beneath the soil, hidden in the shadows of ruins, waiting patiently for future seekers, those who, like us, will come to rediscover them and awaken to their significance. The universe, in its vastness and complexity, does not forget. It waits silently for each cycle of awakening and forgetting, for each new generation to glimpse again the timeless language written in the fabric of reality. This continuity of knowledge, this cosmic memory, transcends individual lifetimes, cultures, and epochs. Throughout history, every civilization has believed itself to be the first to awaken and grasp the profound cosmic order. Yet, paradoxically, each also forgets the pre-existing patterns that were discovered long before. This is a cycle of human consciousness, a perpetual dance of remembering and forgetting, where knowledge is rediscovered only to be lost again. The ancients, aware of this pattern, built their monuments not to endure forever as static objects of glory, but to echo through time as resonant messages, invitations for future generations to listen and remember. These echoes manifest as the enigmatic mysteries we now call pyramids, observatories, temples, and calendars. While their physical forms may eventually succumb to erosion and destruction, their essence remains intact as memory, a memory of a species that, for a fleeting moment in cosmic time, understood its place in a living, breathing cosmic equation. This memory is not confined to texts or artifacts alone, but is encoded in the very geometry of the cosmos, reflected in the proportions and alignments that span from the infinitesimal to the infinite. It is important to recognize that we have not truly lost this knowledge. Rather, we have fallen asleep to it, distracted by the passing spectacle of material progress and fragmented disciplines. The stones, those silent witnesses of time, have waited through the ages for our awakening, for humanity to once again hear their whispers and recognize the deeper truths they embody. The pattern that constitutes the eternal equation exists everywhere around us, in the spiral arms of distant galaxies, in the structure of atoms, and in the rhythmic pulsations of our own hearts. The very same geometry that formed the stars and planets is the blueprint that built our bodies and minds. This pattern, this cosmic design, is not external to us. It is integral to our being. We are not isolated entities, but continuations of the eternal equation, participants in an ongoing cosmic symphony. When humanity eventually passes from the stage, when our cities are reduced to dust and our machines to rust, the pattern itself will remain, patiently waiting for the next awakening. The stones will remember, the universe will remember, and through them, in some mysterious way, we too will remember. This cycle of memory and rediscovery is the fundamental message of the eternal equation, a message of cosmic unity, cyclical knowledge, and eternal recognition. This recognition invites us to join a profound journey, a journey not just of intellectual discovery, but of spiritual awakening. It is a call to embrace the mysteries of the cosmos with humility and curiosity, to open ourselves to the ancient wisdom encoded in the natural world, and to reconnect with the timeless patterns that link us to our ancestors and to the stars. Our monuments, knowledge and consciousness, are not isolated elements but are intertwined threads in an immense cosmic tapestry. This metaphor suggests that what humanity has built, discovered, and experienced are connected parts of a grander whole, stretching beyond individual lifetimes, cultures, or epochs. Each human contribution, whether it be a monument carved from stone, a mathematical insight, or an awakening of awareness, adds a unique thread to this vast fabric, helping to shape the unfolding story of the universe. This story is not static but dynamic, continuously woven and rewoven through the acts of remembering and rediscovering. The monuments left behind by ancient civilizations are not just physical structures or archaeological artifacts. They are enduring voices reaching across the millennia. These constructions, pyramids, temples, observatories, and stone circles, were carefully designed not simply to serve immediate religious, political, or social purposes, but to communicate across time. They encode knowledge about cosmic order, geometry, and celestial cycles into their proportions, alignments, and symbolism. Unlike transient records written on paper or oral traditions that fade, these stones were intended to last, preserving messages in a language of numbers, ratios, and spatial relationships. By erecting such monuments, ancient builders participated consciously in a legacy far greater than themselves. They understood that their time on Earth was but a brief moment in the vast continuum of cosmic cycles. Their constructions were meant as beacons for future generations, signals deliberately crafted for eyes yet to come. This act of building was itself a form of remembrance, a commitment to ensure that the knowledge of the cosmos and humanity's place within it would not vanish with the passing of a civilization. Knowledge, too, is a thread intricately woven into this tapestry. But knowledge is not static or confined to a single era. It flows through time, sometimes bright and clear, at other times fragmented and obscured. Ancient knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and cosmology was often embedded in myths, rituals, and sacred art, encoded symbolically so that its essence could survive through ages, even when written records were lost. The repeated appearance of certain geometric patterns, sacred numbers, and celestial cycles across diverse cultures and epochs shows that these ideas form a continuous thread, linking us not only to our immediate ancestors, but to the cosmos itself. Our consciousness, the awareness that allows us to perceive, think, and seek meaning, is perhaps the most vital thread in this cosmic fabric. It is through consciousness that the eternal patterns embedded in nature, stone, and story become known and experienced. Far from being a mere byproduct of matter, consciousness is deeply connected with the unfolding order of the universe. Ancient peoples intuitively recognized this unity, seeing no sharp division between mind and matter, spirit and science, art and mathematics. Their worldview was holistic, where building a temple was simultaneously an act of prayer, a mathematical exercise, and a cosmic alignment. When we awaken to this connection and cultivate an awareness of our place within the greater design, we move beyond being passive inheritors of history. We become active contributors, adding our own unique thread to the tapestry. Our thoughts, discoveries, and creations continue the ancient dialogue between humanity and the cosmos. This conscious participation honors the cyclical nature of knowledge and remembering, making it possible for the eternal equation, the universal order, to unfold more fully with each generation. This metaphor of weaving emphasizes the difference between passively receiving inherited knowledge and actively engaging with it. Passive inheritors may preserve traditions without question or deeper understanding, while active contributors recognize their role as creators and co-creators in an ongoing story. To participate actively means embracing curiosity, humility, and the willingness to explore the intersections of disciplines, science, spirituality, art, and philosophy, as the ancients once did. It means understanding that our discoveries are often rediscoveries of eternal truths already glimpsed by those who came before us. This humility fosters respect for ancient wisdom and opens the door to deeper insight. Ensuring that the cycle of remembering continues is central to this ongoing human endeavor. History reveals patterns of knowledge being gained, lost, and regained. Civilizations rise, accumulate insight, then fall into silence, only for the knowledge to be rediscovered later. The cosmic patterns, however, remain constant. Our monuments, knowledge, and consciousness are the means by which this memory is kept alive, bridging the silences between ages. The cycle of remembering is about more than safeguarding artifacts or facts. It is about sustaining a living connection to the cosmic order that governs all existence. Through this cycle, the eternal equation, the pattern underlying all creation, is not forgotten. It invites us to remember not only the external universe, but the internal universe of mind and spirit as well. Remembering ancient knowledge is also remembering ourselves as integral parts of a cosmic whole, participants in a vast, unfolding design that transcends individual existence. By consciously adding to this legacy, we ensure that the echoes of ancient wisdom resound anew. The wisdom of the past is not buried beneath the weight of centuries. It pulses beneath the surface, re-emerging in scientific breakthroughs, artistic inspiration, and spiritual awakenings. These echoes can be found in the mathematical constants rediscovered in nature and culture, in the sacred geometry that informs modern architecture and art, and in spiritual traditions that recall the unity of all things. This continuity is a source of profound hope. It assures us that humanity's true story is not a tale of loss, but of ongoing remembrance and participation. Through this lens, our lives and actions gain cosmic significance. Each thought, creation, or act of learning is a thread woven into the vast tapestry of existence. As we awaken to this truth, we honor the legacy of our ancestors, enrich the present moment, and contribute to the future in meaningful ways. We become not just witnesses, but active participants in the unfolding mystery of the universe, helping to weave a tapestry of consciousness, knowledge, and remembrance that stretches across time and space. In embracing this role, we become part of an eternal story, one that began long before us and will continue long after we are gone. The cosmic tapestry is ever expanding, shaped by every generation's insights and acts of remembering. Our monuments, knowledge, and consciousness are its threads, delicate yet enduring, individual yet inseparable. Together, they form a fabric that reflects the infinite complexity and beauty of the universe, a testament to humanity's enduring quest to understand and belong to the cosmic order. In this way, the future is not a blank slate, but a continuation of a grand design, a design that is alive, dynamic, and ever-evolving. The legacy of the eternal equation is not a closed chapter, but an open invitation to all who seek to understand their place in the cosmos. It beckons us to awaken from our slumber, to listen deeply to the silent language of the stones, and to participate fully in the eternal dance of creation and remembrance. Ultimately, the eternal equation teaches us that true immortality lies not in the permanence of our physical creations, but in the persistence of the patterns we embody and transmit. It is through this enduring legacy of number, proportion, and cosmic harmony that humanity can transcend the limits of time, leaving behind a heritage not just of monuments, but of meaning. A legacy that will endure in the hearts and minds of those who come after us, forever echoing across the infinite spiral of existence. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey through the universe on Frontiers of Infinity. If this glimpse into the unknown has sparked your curiosity, be sure to subscribe and join us, where we unravel the darkest mysteries of space.